Coach Stuart Baxter, thanks very much for joining us. Kindly to set the tone of the press conference, give us the sense of what has gone down since the last match you played on Sunday against Sundowns. What has happened in training or any other team news?
We've done our normal recuperation and we've done our normal preparation for the game. We came off a defeat against Sundowns that didn't feel too good because we thought we were worth a little bit more. And our training at the moment is very much about trying to extend these periods of very good play and try and extend that and be more consistent and certainly take away these unforced errors that are costing us silly goals. So that and finish the chances that we are creating. We are creating many chances in every game we play virtually. So we've got to close the door at one side and make sure that we take advantage of the other. So we've been working quite hard on that.
Last one, Coach, as the opening. Any takeaways from Sundowns match that you take in the next match?
Well, more or less what I just said, it's the good play. The good play. We had a lot of good play against Sundowns. I think we've got to take that and we've got to make them repeat it, so it doesn't just become a one-off. It becomes a form of a strategy that you can repeat. So I think when you watch the Champions League games last night, you see the consistency and the intensity of the teams is not 60%. It's 99.9% for the whole game. And we need to adopt that attitude.
Thank you, Prof. Morning, Coach.
Morning, brother.
Yes, Coach. I was just listening to you talking about the costly mistakes that you've been having at the back, and I'm looking at. I was going through some errors leading to goal, especially from last season. Looking at the two centre backs that you've started with this season and comparing with Njabulo Ngcobo, who comes from, I think, the second defensive record in the league last season. Not starting him in the earlier matches this season, are there some fundamental reasons that has kept him away from the starting lineup?
Fundamental reasons being that I've never seen him before. You know, you talked about last season. I didn't see him 1 minute last season. So the first minute I saw him was when I walked through the gates at Naturena. So Njabulo was obviously going to have to make himself known to me to him, do some work together and see how quickly we can get in. We've had it's been a very difficult, we had virtually no pre-season. So we had one practice game. And so therefore he's had very little chance to make a lasting impression. He's done very well in training, as has Austin. And at the moment, it's been a question of just trying to ease them both into the scheme of things. If you throw them in at the deep end, then you may break their chances of establishing themselves. So I think the way to bring them in is to bring them in into a stable environment where everybody knows their role and not just shooting from the hip. I think that's maybe more accepted here to just throw people in, but it's not far away from being the correct way to do it. And I'm sure that Njabulo will appreciate that when he gets his chance, that he'll go in knowing what to do and being able to give a performance instead of being thrown into a back line that he's not familiar with and he's not had any practice with, apart from a few training sessions. So I think both him and Austin are understanding that situation. I think we've got to do that with sensitivity and professionalism.
Coach, I wanted to find out, how do you begin to prepare for a Royal AM side that's a bit of an enigma, because you never really know what to expect from them. They're either really good on the day, or they just not up to scratch. So how do you prepare for a side that's a little bit of an enigma in such an important fixture for you guys, particularly how you guys have started the season also?
I don't really understand the second part of your question there. It's an important game because of the way we've started the season. I think we've started the season with some very good performances. We've just run the champions of the country very, very close and dominated the game for long periods. So given that, I think it's more concentrate, to answer the first part of your question, is to concentrate on making our performances better rather than be wondering what we're going to get from our opponents. We're going to do our due diligence on them, and we're going to make sure that we pay them full respect, because it is basically Celtics driven, isn't it? And I think we can see some similarities there, and whether or not they want to play with three at the back, or four at the back, or five at the back, I can't control. So I think we've got to try and concentrate on, again, what I said before, taking what we've done well and increasing that. But that's a journey that you're always on at this time of the year. We've had very little time to prepare. We've got the new boys in, and we're trying to integrate them, and we're trying to get results at the same time. And it's a journey, and we've got to keep on working at that to get a more consistent performance from our side. So to answer your question properly, Sandy, it'll be take what we've done well, do it even better, and hope for that will lead to us getting the points. And we will do our work on Royal also.
Coach, good morning. Sabang from Soccer Ladima. Coach, just to add on to Velia's question on Ngcobo, I mean, he's been in the Bafana team of late. Him not getting the game time at the moment, do you think that puts his place there under danger, basically? And then secondly, the striking department, how much of a concern is that?
The 43-year-old is accused of killing her relatives in order to cash in on their insurance policies between the years 20.
Newsroom, kindly mute yourself. Tepan, please repeat your question quickly.
Yes, and secondly, Coach, how much of a concern is the striking department for you, and would you consider getting a striker in the January transfer window?
Look, when the national team is selected, if Lena is selected in the national team, I can't then put Lena into our team because some of the coach thinks he's doing very well. I think I've got to work with Njabulo. I've got to see how he is with our players. I've got to see. Now, I believe he's a very talented player, but I've got to judge: is he ready to go into our team based on his experience with us? It's maybe easier for him to go into the national squad, because the national squad is also players that the coach doesn't know that well. So whether the national coach selects him or not, it's great for the club, great for Njabulo, but it doesn't give an automatic passport into the team here. I'm happy with the way Njabulo is playing. As I answered before, it's going to be very much for every player. You could ask me about another 4 or 5 players, exactly the same, with different reasoning. Why aren't they playing? And I think it's all down to what's happening here. What situation do we have? How integrated is he? And how well is he settling down? All of that's a little bit. How long is a piece of string? Because at different days it can be different. In terms of the striking department, I don't think you start to panic when you've created a lot of chances in 2 games and you've not converted them. If if you're creating chances, that's the first thing. The second thing is having the composure to finish them. Now, I think that our striking department is quite well furnished at the moment. We've got Leo Castro also. We've got Lebo coming back. So.
Let's go to
morning. Yeah, sorry. Morning, coach.
Morning, Mark.
Hi. Yeah, coach. I think it's strange because I think, like you say, for a rebuilding team, Chiefs have not had a bad start, and I think the Sundowns game, some of the reaction to a game where you certainly missed chances and made them fight more than possibly the game where you came back to 2-2, shows a progression. And I think some of the questions that are being asked by the fans maybe are also legitimate though, because they know their team and so sometimes the fans actually know. So I was just wondering, I mean, something like Nurkovic who's played on the left, and it worked a dream against Barocca, I think. And
yeah.
I think the way you explained it was you had Nurkovic, I think a right footer cutting in from the left, and you had Dolly, a left footer cutting in from the right, and you had overlapping fullbacks and who got wide, and it worked really well. And then you had Billiard working really well as a false number 9, Parker behind him, and those two in the middle, Alexander and Nange. So I mean, you're obviously looking for your answers, but maybe the fans are not understanding something like Nurkovic on the left, where he looked very lost against Sundowns.
I'd still like to say, Mark, that we got him into more goal scoring positions from that position than we've been getting him. I mean, I watched a lot of footage from last year that when he's playing as an out and out 9 and with his back to goals, and he was lacking confidence. He was lacking the getting into goal scoring positions. So I still think, I think you're dead right. I think the fans are not interested too much in false 9s and inverted full-backs, and they're not too interested in that. They want to see results. And I think when the result is a disappointing one, then a lot of the nuances of how you've tried to set up your team, I think that disappears. So I think we need to accept that, But I think I can't be shuffling the pack every time there's a result that goes against us, especially if it's a result that I thought was quite a poor reflection of the game, So I think we've got to have a little bit more patience and persistence than that.
Thank you.
Yes,
I think Mark was not finished.
Sorry, I wasn't quite finished with the question. I think, Stuart, maybe some of the other selection question marks that they were asking was that Dube got a start coming from the first division, and Njabulo remained in the stands, and having been a PSL player of the season. And I think some of the fans are also asking about Ngcobo, who came to the fore really developed so much in the last few seasons. And I know there have been signings, and now you're looking for your new combination, and you've got those middle two doing really well. But people are just wondering, does that mean with the signings that someone who's really come to the fore, who's shown such potential, become a fan favorite, now becomes sort of relegated? But I know it's early. I mean, it's early for people to be asking these things, but these are the sort of question marks that are coming up.
And if I was a fan, no problem, Mark. Listen, Mark, if I was a fan, those would be the questions I'm asking the coach. So all I can say is that Machine has been doing really, really well the last 2 weeks. He went through a little period of being a bit flat, not playing with the right intensity, not playing with the right desire. And then, even if you are a talented lad, that doesn't get you a place in the team. Now he's really starting to fire, and he's putting pressure on the players that at the moment are ahead of him. So I'm really pleased with the way Machine is working. In terms of the centre backs for this game, we needed a left-sided centre back. Simple as that. We did. If we'd have needed the central one or the wide on the right, I would have played Njabulo. But I think that Austin for this game was the more natural choice. So at the point where I think we can shuffle the pack and we can bring in Njabulo, then I'm really looking to give him a run. But at the same time, if he's competing with 4 or 5 other players, then there's a lot of things that have got to fall into place. So, and again, I don't want to just throw him in when it's a new back line and they don't know each other. And I want to throw him in when he's got a good idea of his job and the back line is settled. To throw him in just because one player has an up or down day one day, I think when he gets in, he deserves also to make a couple of mistakes and still be selected. So I think we'll keep on doing it. We'll keep on doing it as properly as we can. And then, of course, sometimes you throw someone in, you think, no, it's sink or swim for him a little bit, So, but at that point, you're probably further down the line and you're probably further into the season where you've tried a few more combinations. At this moment, I think we should still be trying to put it together with a little bit of sensitivity and not just being ruled by the heart. A little bit, the head should be also in the equation.
Good morning. Can I ask, sir, whether Nurkovic is suffering a crisis of confidence, do you feel? And if so, what do you as an experienced coach do to kind of get his head right, as it were?
That's a great question, Mark. And I think you're correct. I think Samir is absolutely not a crisis, but he's a striker who lives and has lived for the whole of his career with goals as the gold standard. And even if he's playing well for the team at the moment, and even if he's getting into goal-scoring positions himself at the moment, he's not taking them away. And that displeases him immensely and causes him frustration. And therefore, yes, he is waiting for that goal to ease the pressure on himself. So I think that is a definite. Now, what do I do with that? I've spoken to him individually. I've tried to reassure him that as long as he's working hard and as long as he's opening for other people and he's doing a good job in that respect, then he's still doing a job for the team. At the point it becomes a problem where I think he needs to take a step back, then I'll rest him. I'll put him on the bench or I'll rest him completely. So you can only do that. There's only a few tools we have as coaches, and that's what we can do. We can talk to him, reassure him, give him another run, and when it comes to a point where I think you should rest him now because it's not doing him or the team any good, then we'll do that. But I think at the moment I just think that one goal will solve the whole thing. And if he wasn't getting into these goal scoring positions, then I would be closer to probably resting him, because then he needs to take a step back and regroup and go again. But at the moment, with him getting into so many good positions and for me doing a good job for the team, I think then we should have that little bit of patience.
Good morning, Coach. Good morning.
Morning, Tim.
From Sports. Coach, I'm just a little bit, curious about finding out. After Dube had 2 costly mistakes, I don't mean to let on a player, but a goal, a header by Grant Gegana led to a goal, and a quick tap in front of him as well by Shalulile. That was the second goal against Sundowns. And then the third thing that happened to him is that you pulled him off just towards the end of the game. It might have been tactical, but what's his headspace at in terms of him being taken out on his debut after 2 quick goals where he was actually within that situation? Have you spoken to him, Coach? And how is he looking as you see him through the week?
Definitely, of course, I've spoken to him. I've spoken to him a couple of times. We've done some work since the game. And you can imagine yourself how he's feeling. I mean, everything that you've said there is it's factual. It's factual. It's not pulled out of thin air. It's factual. So, of course, he wasn't feeling great about his debut, because he would have loved his debut to be swimmingly fantastic and have a fault-free game. But you know, that's maybe Disney World and not the football world. You know, so he's got to stand up and do and be counted now. So, you know, for the coach has got to think, well, do we ease him out, put somebody else in, and give him time to regroup and then go again, or do we say no? You don't get pilloried for making a mistake in this team. You get another chance, and we believe in you. That's one that we're gonna make a decision on over the next couple of days. So we think that Austin's got potential. He's aware of the mistakes that he made, because we've spoken about it, and we've spoken about those principles. But it wasn't only Austin making the mistakes. You know, if we'd have scored a few goals, then maybe we would have the same pressure on us. If we'd have set up better at the set play, it wouldn't have put him in a position where he'd really got two players to keep an eye on. You know, so if we'd have had a better blocking player to stop the cross or stop the cross coming in, we wouldn't have noticed that he lost his marking. So, you know, football is like that. Football is like that, and he's in the spotlight because it was his debut, and because. But at the end of the day, we've got to put our arm around him, reassure him, and then make a decision on: do we ask him to go again, or do we decide that it's better if he steps out the firing line?
Good morning, Coach Stuart, and good morning to Omar colleagues as well. Coach, you've spoken about, I'm sorry to take you back, but I'm just trying to understand in terms of Njabulo saying that you don't know him, and you've spoken about Nurkovic saying you've watched his footage.
No, I didn't say I don't know Njabulo. I mean,
okay.
I've been working with him for 3 months, so I do know him.
Okay. All right. Maybe on the pitch in terms of how he plays, or maybe how he will play for Chiefs. So my question is, Coach, in terms of what you've seen from him over the last 3 months, have you said, how is he in terms of, gelling with his teammates? Obviously, Chiefs is a different club. How is his personality, his character? How does he carry himself on the training ground? That aspect. And secondly, Coach, how big a plus is Lebogang Manyama coming back from injury, because he's been out for a very long time? How big a plus is he to be back with the club now and playing?
Yeah, well, I'll take the first one. Take the second part first. Lebo coming back is obviously it's a big boost. He's nowhere near full fitness yet. He still has a slight difference in power between quads and hamstrings. So he's still got to get himself on 100%. But during that time, he's close enough now to play short bursts, and I think we'll just try and get him fit, give him a little bit more time, and then a little bit more time, and then hopefully in the not too distant future we'll get him back as a player we can select from the start of the game. Look, Njabulo's done a good job since he came here. Look, we work very hard with our defenders, and a lot of the stuff that we've done has been quite new to him. Now that doesn't mean he's a bad player. That means that just it's a new environment with new demands and new teammates. And when we look at the whole situation, it's not correct to just take him and throw him in. And of course, I didn't see him play last year. I wasn't in South Africa last year. So he's a new player. He's a new player to me. I'm a new coach to him. His teammates are new, and we're hoping that very quickly we can get him up to speed, and we know each other so well that we can have him as a completely integrated player. Now that process doesn't always go in 2 or 3 minutes, and that's why until we feel it is 100%, we're not going to be rushing him. I think he deserves that. He's a good player, but he deserves that time to get himself into the way that we play.
Thank you, Vina. Morning, coach. It's turning out to
Morning,
be
morning.
a Spearway here. It's turning out to be a defenders conference. I wanted to ask about Ngezana. He recently signed a 3-year extension, I think around March. He also played a lot in the CAF Champions League. I wanted to know from your side, what's his role in the club? I haven't seen him much in the lineups, and what's his best position? Thank you.
Well, he's got a serious injury. He's been out for. Well, he's been out. He was selectable for the Wydad games for me, and then after that, I don't think he was selectable. He's had a serious injury. He's had operation, and he's had all sorts of treatment and prognosis and diagnosis, and he's at the point where he's actually hobbling and jogging around the pitch at the moment. So when I've worked with him a little bit longer, I think I can tell you more carefully what I think his best position is. I mean, he can play fullback, he can play centre back, but at this moment he's not playing anywhere.
And then a very easy question, just a quick injury update, coach. Which are the players that are still sidelined?
Yeah, we've got Zuma out still. I think he's just started running, and so he's increasing his running. We got Leo Castro, who's still recovering from his operation. He had quite a bad one. Lebo Manyama's on his way back, so he's selectable, but you can't call him 100% yet. We're integrating him. On top of that, I don't think we've got too much at the moment. I don't dare say too much, because when we go out this morning, there's going to be a couple of injuries, and then I'll be coming cap in hand to you guys apologising. But at the moment, we've got a couple of bad ones, but apart from that, we're not too bad.
Coach, just a question on Manyama as well. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a couple of times you mentioned possibly a new role for Lebu. And I know when you were Bafana coach, he did play up top a few times.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned the strikers, you usually throw his name in there. Is that the new role that you're earmarking for Lebu?
Well, again, without working with him in that role that I'm thinking, I don't know if it's a masterstroke by me or an exercise in futility. I can't really confirm that. But Lebo has got everything to compete on many fronts. He could be one of the players in the pockets, the wider players. He could be the false nine. He could be a running midfield player. He can help us in a lot of ways. He's a little bit like Bernard. Bernard's the same. Bernard can play in a few positions. So I'm looking forward to getting Lebo back. I think that Karma can play as that false nine, but Karma can also cut in from the sides. Lebo, I think, could play that false nine. We actually played against the champions from Botswana in a friendly the other day. Machini played false nine, and he played it absolutely spot on. He was super, creating spaces for people to duck in behind him and getting on the ball and getting turned and playing people in, and then arriving in the box a little bit later. So that position, again, I get asked about, are we interested in strikers? I think I've not seen everybody here yet. So until I've seen everybody here, I don't think I should be doing them the disservice of announcing my interest in bringing in new players. But yeah, you were right in that respect. That was one of the roles.
I didn't get to hear you clearly when you were asked about the issue of your strike force. I think we were cutting in between there. We didn't get to hear properly that answer to that question. And I also wanted to ask you about Karma Billiard. The process of getting him back to what he is right now, considering the kind of criticism that he got last season. The whole of last season, he scored 2 goals. He's already scored 2 goals now in only 4 games. What kind of mental state is he in, and how is he looking.
Well, let me say the one about the strikers first. I mean, I think, in a nutshell, what I said was that I don't think, when I haven't seen all the strikers that we have at the club, I don't think the ones that have played badly. We've created lots of chances. I mean, I think against Barocca we must have created more chances in a PSL game than any team that I've ever had has created. And for the Sundowns game, we had 10 strikes. They had 2. We had 6 on target. And a combination of maybe not composed finishing and great goalkeeping kept us out. So, given that, I don't think it's fair on those players to be announcing my interest in bringing in more strikers. I think I've got to give them a chance and look at them first, get everybody fit, and then make a decision on if we need to strengthen. And I think there was one question. About, I think it was about Machini getting game time, but he doesn't get more game time when more players are over at the club. Happy's the same, These are 2 talented players that I want to get into the mix, but more players come in and more doors close. So on the strikers one, at the moment I'm happy, and I'm hoping that we'll just start translating that into goals. Karma. I think Karma from the day I walked in has been very, very professional. He's worked very, very hard. And I think he's got a role where I think he finds it stimulating, and I think Karma works on confidence. And if he's not confident,